City Area Council in the elections just barely few hours away. But we have breaking news for you. Less than 24 hours to the Governorship and House of Assembly elections. The Office of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, in Ibesikpo, a Sultan local government area of Akwa Ibom State, has been gutted by fire. The cause of the fire is not yet known. And we have a senior correspondent in that particular location who will feed us with live updates. We also have correspondents all over Nigeria. We also have analysts. We have specialists. Very shortly, we hook up with our studios in Ibadan, where we have the Commissioner of Police on standby. We also have the REC in that particular state on standby. We'll also take you over to the UK, where we have a leadership consultant, Dr. Seno Korebi, also on standby. This and many more we have for you in just a moment. Join us again.
Good afternoon and welcome to Election Watch. Nigeria decides. Nigeria in various states of the Federation will be heading to the polls once again to decide who would be their governor and state representatives at the State House of Assemblies. My name is Judith, Irenoa, and we'll be right back. Kelly is coming to join us on the show, and we'll get started with correspondents fielding various reports from their state. And like you said earlier, the hoodlums has set ablaze INEC office in Ibesikpo, a certain local government area of Akwa Ibom State. We'll be getting reports from there and many more from our correspondents in various fields in Nigeria. Just stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and this is Election Watch. Nigeria decides. We'll be heading on straight to our Ibadan studios, where the Commissioner of Police in Oyo State is standing by to speak with us. Good afternoon, Mr. Commissioner. All right, can you bring us up to speed with the level of preparation as regards security ahead tomorrow's election in Oyo State?
State with all sets of responsibilities that in Oyo State, the police are dotting the I's and crossing the T's. The security agencies in the state have done a review of what happened last Saturday, and the Inspector General of Police has also done that with all the commissioners of police and other senior officers. At the zonal level, that has been done. Therefore, the Inspector General of Police sent in very senior officers, a DIG, accompanied by the AIG Zone 11, to come and review what we have on ground and discover that we have rejigged the system we used on Saturday. We are going to have additional men deployed at tactical operational points within the township and the other areas where elections will take place. The men at the polling booths, though not armed, but intend to increase the number that are at the polling units to give the people, the entire citizenry, that sense of safety. In addition to that, we are going to have men on standby who will quickly respond to distress calls. The people in the town will also respond to distress calls, but in addition, those ones will act. Also, we have men in Mufti who will monitor the information, the intelligence at our disposal, such individuals and groups that bent on creating infractions during the exercise. They are being monitored, and where they raise their ugly head, we can assure them that the police will be ready to pick them up. We also have our communication system, which the digital upgrade has just been handed over to the police yesterday, and that will also help in our quick response to distress calls. We have senior officers from headquarters that have been deployed as additional hands by the Inspector General of Police to assist in closely monitoring what the men are doing on the field. In addition to that, we are going to have what I call the synergy between the sister security agencies. We have met 2 times within the last 1 week to ensure that the people of Oyo State, in addition to our constitutional responsibility of protection of lives and property, we are going to assure them, and we are assuring them that we have assurances from sister agencies that the people should just go out, cast their votes, perform their civil responsibilities, and return to their respective places without any fear of violence during the exercise. Thank you. And return to their respective places without...
Olukolu, we know how peculiar your state is, but let's get to talk about some of the challenges that you might be facing as the Commissioner of Police in Oyo State.
Actually, during the last exercise, we do observe that there were certain challenges. There were pockets of complaints here and there. We also found out that some of the men have their own issues, arrival at polling units and deployments, getting to the places on time. These ones we are going to ensure that do not happen this time around. Evacuation of the staff, INEC staff, and ballot boxes from the polling units to the collation centers. We have also set out to deploy our men en masse to areas where collation are going to be done. They have been told what to do after the voting to move en masse to collation centers to ensure that the number of personnel that are available to provide security for the people will also be on the increase.
Well, let's get to talk about other issues as well. Let's look at the relationship between the police, of course, in your jurisdiction, and the community. How would you describe that particular relationship?
The relationship between the police and the community in Oyo State is excellent. In the spirit of community policing, the police in Oyo State have reached out. We have engaged the members of the public. We have engaged some of the youths. We have engaged leadership in communities. And this has assured us that they will talk to their people and ensure that they collaborate with the police and give us very useful and genuine information that will enable us to serve them better.
Mr. Shina Olukolu, you said, you talked about the deployment of security to various parts of Oyo State. Now the question is, usually the main focus is usually in the state capital. How can you assure the people in the hinterland, in various local governments far away from the state capital, of adequate security come tomorrow's election?
That is exactly what I meant when I said we have rejigged the system we used last Saturday. We have additional assistance. We have assurances from other sister security agencies to take up deployment in certain strategic areas within the township so that the policemen can be freed up to ensure that those in the rural areas are adequately also catered for. In this essence, we have men on patrol, we have teams that will be deployed, some of them have already reported, and we want to assure them that they should just go out there and carry out their civil responsibilities without any fear of violence. We want to assure them that
All right, while we don't envisage any violence during the polls, do you have any mechanism in place whereby areas where violence likely erupt during the election, do you have a mechanism in place whereby the people can place a call to the police and they'll get a prompt response? Do you have?
The control room, the numbers have been given earlier. The patrol teams that are on ground, they are in synergy with the divisional police officers and the senior officers that are sent from headquarters to assist the command in closely monitoring the men who are on duties. In case of any distress, the DPO's numbers are out there, the area commander's numbers are out there, the numbers from the control room are also out there in the public domain. These they can use to reach us at any time. And once this is done, that's why we have men on standby. That's why we also have teams on patrol. These teams who are on patrol, as well as those on standby, will respond to any distress call. And we assure the people that they will be adequately taken care of.
Well, Shino Olukolu would like to thank you most kindly for speaking with us. Many thanks indeed for speaking with us. We've been speaking with the Commissioner of Police in Oyo State, Shino Olukolu. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Election Watch, barely a few hours to the governorship elections, the State House of Assembly elections, as well as the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, area council elections. The stakes are indeed higher. Joining us live in the studio is the public affairs commentator Ambrose Igboke. Many thanks indeed for joining us this evening. Yeah, Judith, I was saying the stakes are indeed even higher. Mm-hmm. We have about 29 states, of course, involved in these particular elections at the governorship level. We have 7 off-season states. We'll get to talk about all of this as well as the State House of Assembly elections. But let's get to hear your thoughts. Just barely a few hours. What do you think the mood of Nigerians is like right now?
Well, the mood is mixed. Coming from the heels of the 23rd February election. Some places we saw a lot of violence. There was volatile. Some places we saw a lot of voter suppression. Some places we saw a lot of enthusiasm that was later dampened by either INEC's this thing not working, the machine not working, card readers not working. And then it was further dampened by the fact that those who couldn't vote with the card reader were asked to present their pictures and write their phone numbers and signature. And then later, it came out to be that the votes didn't count because those ones that didn't vote through the card reader were voided. Hence, the last election, the number of voided votes was so high, more than 2 million. In fact, in a particular state, in Rivers State, up to 900,000 votes were voided. So that comes to play that people were not very satisfactory with the outcome. But again, thank God that INEC has said that they will do some supplementary elections in some areas. That will give some boosters some hope. Having said that, it was also the marginal issues of violence, because when you compare the magnitude of last 2 weeks ago, the election, and the violence-prone area, the violence that happened, you find out that it's negligible in terms of percentage. But again, it had a very formidable impact because people were hurt and people were really scared. But again, the funny thing was the INEC declared results in some of these polling units. That, so that goes to say that there's lack of coordination somehow.
All right, coming from the fallout of this violence, you stated the inability of some people to vote, the late arrival of materials, it was a very, very serious issue during the presidential election. Do you think people who went through this ordeal will be ready to come out and vote tomorrow?
Human nature tends to give up easily. But we will always appeal to people that, you know, when you want a good country, you have to sacrifice. You don't get it in your comfort zone. The countries we migrate to in Western worlds like the United States, Canada, and UK were not built in a day. They were built through the sweat and toil. When you read the history of these nations, you will find out that, in fact, they suffered more than we did now through their own mistakes, because we had people to learn from. The presidential system of election government we are practicing today was borrowed from a model. In the First Republic, we practiced the British system. We borrowed from the British. We found out that, okay, it's not going to work for us, and then we took the presidential system. So, but these countries that brought out the presidential system or parliamentary system had to learn through the hard way to get where they are. So for us to sustain where we are now, we need to also, do our own kinds of sacrifices. It's not going to fall from heaven. We have to start it. And part of it is this sacrifice that even despite the despondency, despite the threats, despite the apathy, despite the discomfort and everything that must have happened in the election last 2 Saturdays, we also urge Nigerians to come out because that is the sacrifice they have to make the country a better place for all of us.
Absolutely. We have breaking news in Akwa Ibom State where somewhere at Ibesikpo, Sultan local government area of that particular state, it's been confirmed that the INEC office in that local government has been gutted by fire. Now, the cause of the fire is not yet known. We will shortly speak with our correspondent in Akwa Ibom State. But how often and for how long would we continue to hear of such incidents? We can confirm that card readers have been burnt as well as other very sensitive materials.
Well, it's played out prominently before the 23rd of February election that happened 2 weeks ago, where in like 4 states it happened.
Anambra, Plateau.
But what we find out is that the predominance of this kind of actions take place more in the south than in the north. And one starts to wonder, how does southern Nigeria play its politics? Because when it talks about even the acts of violence that happened on the 23rd happened down south, not in the north. And the irony is that the 2 contending candidates, the 2 prominent candidates, are from the north. Therefore, we have a problem down here in the south. Therefore, that has to be addressed by the community, by our value system. What is our value system when it comes to taking control, taking power, grabbing of power, political expediencies and the rest? So that comes to, we need a reorientation and reevaluation. Now, we have what is happening now. INEC office is being burnt. I hope we don't get more news before the day runs out. But I was thinking that by now, the security agencies...
It's not been confirmed. It does appear it was an accident. It does, for now, it's not been confirmed if it was politically motivated. But
allegations arrived that the INEC office was set ablaze by suspected hoodlums. Now the question is, you mentioned a number of states that INEC offices were set ablaze by suspected hoodlums or whoever prior to the presidential election. And many analysts were of the view that INEC, the level of security in and around INEC offices prior to the election should be very, very tight. Coming from this incidents we had in some states at the INEC offices, do you think INEC itself has not learned enough lessons as to the security of sensitive materials in and around its offices?
Well, INEC can only collaborate. It's an interagency collaboration between INEC and the security agency.
Okay, with this, do you think the synergy is good enough?
That's the problem, because INEC does not deploy security operatives. It's not in the purview. They work with the police. And so they would have brought out their, these are our offices, this is here, there, and the police would have given them adequate assurances, just the way police is giving us, the citizens, adequate assurances. Yeah. And then we now have an office. Of course, INEC office is there. The policemen are supposed to guide that office and guard it against this kind of... Where were they when this happened? Where were they when the one before the election happened? And the police says, okay, we have learned, INEC said we have learned from the election of fortnights ago. What has happened now? Why do we allow this to happen? Therefore, it is either that the security agencies are not doing their work properly, or there's negligence of duty somewhere by the security operatives that were deployed there. And if there is, somebody must be prosecuted for these things. Who are the arsonists? Who are the arsonists? The arsonists live within the environment. Were they armed? Have they done before now? We're supposed to, that's why I said that in our security, we always like to be reactive. Instead of taking
precautionary measures.
Instead of taking intelligence to forestall some of these things happening. We know that there are some desperate acts who we want the election not to hold. There are some desperate people who we want election materials not to get to where it's supposed to go to. We know all those things. So the security people are deployed to forestall this thing, to prevent them from happening. And in the cases where they happen, that means the security operatives are failures. That's what it means.
Many thanks, Barrister. We'll come back and speak with you, Mr. Andrew Sabuki. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Election Watch, Galaxy TV. Our studios are open again as we continue with our special live coverage of the 2019 elections. Attention has been shifted to the governorship, the State House of Assembly, and the FCT area council elections. We can confirm that very shortly. We'll again go back to Oyo and speak with the rep in that state, Barrister Mutiu Agboke. We also have from the UK, a leadership consultant, Dr. Isienu Koribi, and we'll also get to speak with some of our senior political correspondents in just a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. This is Election Watch on Galaxy TV. Barely a few hours to the governorship elections as well as the State House of Assembly and FCT elections. We definitely have live updates. We have news feeds in just a moment for you. But we have some major talking point. No certificate of return for candidates declared under duress. This were the exact words from INEC. We also have some other very major talking points here. INEC says it will cancel votes where communities reject card readers or where personnel or some persons deliberately fail to deploy card readers. So we'd definitely like to talk about this. And finally, we'll look at the issues holding of INEC officials hostage. This also was captured yesterday by the INEC boss, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. We're here in the studios as we continue with our live coverage of the 2019 elections. Judith?
All right, continuing from where you stopped, you said the INEC commissioner, INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu has said no certificate of return will be issued to any candidate declared winner of an election under duress. You recall that during the presidential National Assembly election, there was widespread intimidation and harassment of the commission staff during the last presidential and National Assembly elections, which the commission came out initially to refute. But a report has it that in Imo State, for instance, one Francis Ibiawuchi, that's INEC returning officer for the Imo West senatorial election, said he was forced to announce Governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, as winner of the poll. Now, what's your take on this coming after the initial report was made? Is the decision rather too little, too late?
I think the INEC is flip-flopping, and INEC seems not to get its acts together. Because when your returning officer of a state on camera before live television viewed all over the world told you that I am announcing this, I didn't want to announce this result, but here I'm held hostage and I'm announcing the result under duress. And then she signed and sent it. The first thing I expected INEC to do was to declare that election inconclusive and then set up an interrogation committee to interrogate that circumstance and see what comes out of it, and then make an announcement just a week after. But what did they do?
I'm just like, okay, we'll come back and get to hear your thoughts in just a moment after this break. Join us again.
right, thank you for staying with us. And you're watching Election Watch Nigeria Decides, and Nigerians tomorrow will be filing out en masse, hopefully, to vote for their state governors and representatives at the State House of Assembly. And I will still have our public affairs analyst in the studio. And you were talking about, before we went on that break,
yes,
talking
for
about
Imo State.
Imo State, the Imo example.
Yeah, the Imo example.
Others,
it was not supposed to be announced. The result was supposed to be declared inconclusive. More so that the INEC returning officer has said that it was under duress. And then he said it before he announced it. So who knows the kind of trauma the man would have gone into. And then he said his family was being threatened, that they were going to kill them if he doesn't announce. And by now, even though he enjoys immunity, people like the Rocha Sokorosha should be, you know, gearing up for prosecution for electoral offenses. So it is not fair. The INEC should go ahead and declare that result. It would have waited.
All right, we have to hold you there. And joining us live from Delta State is our correspondent, Dele Fason, who will be bringing us up to speed with what is going on in Delta State. Hello, Dele.
Yeah, hello. How are you doing today?
All right, very well. What is happening right now in Delta State?
Yes,
in Delta State right now, as I speak with you, the materials, election materials, have been distributed to nearly 25 local government areas of Delta State by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Just a few minutes ago, I was at the headquarters of the INEC in Warri here, where they were sorting some misplaced materials, in the sense that some materials were mistakenly taken from another local government here to Warri South, and they were sorted out. But the major concern of Deltans right now is not about the materials. It's about the presence of the military in every areas in Delta. Just where I'm standing, just about 100 meters away, is the home of the former Minister of Police Affairs, Chief Ozimo, who made it known that they will resist any attempt for the military to come near a polling unit. Ike Clark, the elder statesman, made his own known yesterday in a statement. Different groups from the Niger Delta region have been talking about this. There have been apprehension concerning the presence of military men in every nook and corners in the state regarding tomorrow's election. That is the present state now. People are no longer talking about INEC not taking materials to one local government or the other. It's just the presence of the military men. That's the situation right now.
Military personnel in Delta State. Can you tell us for sure, are the military men stationed at various streets or just at the outskirts of the town? Can you tell us exactly where the military men are stationed?
Yes, they are not visible on the streets anyway. Just at when you're coming into Warri from the neighboring Irenoa local government, there's a roundabout there, popular roundabout, where about 8 persons were killed in about a month ago. They are stationed there, they have a presence there. Then inside the main Warri, through the Nigerian Ports Authority, then you have their presence there as well, just around the border towns from Edo State as well. You have them in different areas there. So they are not per se in the internal streets in Warri. They are just around the neighborhood. But I promise you, on election day, taking into consideration the presidential elections, they were in streets with different road blocks where they do checks for every motorist that comes. And when they check you, if you have a pass, they allow you to go. But if you don't have a pass, you have to go back.
Okay, my question would probably be directed to the young men and women in that particular state. Do you think they have probably recovered from the presidential elections?
I wanted to take that again.
Do you think the handling of the presidential elections?
Okay, you mean they are present in the presidential election? Now just take it one more time, please. I think I can get it.
Elections. The residents in Delta State, do you think they have recovered from whatever transpired during these elections?
Okay, I think I got it. Yes, you know, the presence of military security operatives in Niger Delta is not a new thing. Like what most stakeholders have been saying, that they are ready to come out and vote, no matter the intimidation from any side. So I would say they have really recovered because of their enthusiasm they show in waiting for tomorrow's election. You know, they've been sorts of stakeholders meeting, you know, sensitizing the people on the need to come for tomorrow's election. So they have really get over the hangover, if I have to use that word, of the presidential election.
Thank you most kindly for speaking with us. We'll definitely keep in touch as we get more live updates and feeds from Delta State. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Election Watch on Galaxy TV. We're not done with you just yet. We can confirm that in a very, very short while we'll speak with our senior political correspondent, Ajay Nelson, in Akwa Ibom State to give us the very, very latest as concerning the INEC office, which was burned early hours of today, barely few hours to the elections. There have been many talking points really in the news after the presidential elections, many talking points. The main opposition candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, has decided to go to court, and well, INEC has also decided to allow him, or the court has granted him the access to some of those materials. And I think people are just wondering, when you look at the judiciary, look at the justice system in this country, what kind of justice would he get?
Well, the Nigerian judiciary system have given Nigerians a lot of justice. People have gone to court to get justice, and they have gotten it. And when it comes to election matters, in this country over the years, the judiciary has helped so much to deepen the democracy and also interpret some sections of the Constitution that were not quite clear on some political issues and electoral matters. We remember the issues of people like Mr. Peter Obi when he was governor of Anambra State. It was the court who decided, because INEC actually went ahead to conduct election there in Anambra State. Barely his third year in office. And the INEC's argument was that it's just like the National Assembly or the legislature, where you go with a group like the 8th Assembly, the 7th Assembly, that your time starts, you know, in collegiate duration. But Peter Obi went to court to say, no, I am an individual. I swore, I took an oath so time, therefore it should follow when I took an oath, not when the cycle, it's not a cycle of the last, you know, collegiate tenure started. So he went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court gave a judgment saying, your tenure starts on the day you take your oath of office. That deepened our democracy. Again, the same Peter Obi went back to court because INEC went ahead to do the election, and even against warnings, the elected official was sacked 2 weeks. INEC declared him winner, but he was sacked under 2 weeks. We tried on the case of Adams Oshomole. He got his victory from the court. Fayemi, in his first term, got his victory from the court. Arebeshola got his victory from the court. The former governor of Ondo State, Mimiko, got his victory from the court.
Former Governor Adams Oshomole as well.
Yes, I mentioned it. That was the first person I mentioned.
Okay.
So these people, if they can get it from the court, who said the judiciary is not working? Then when we talk about the legislature, a lot of senators have been sacked by the court and replaced. House of Reps member, House of Assembly members. So anything
but
can happen.
in very, very controversial manner, I must say, because
Which one is controversial?
You know, we cannot say
because
for sure, but
what happens is that when politicians are disgruntled, when it doesn't favor them, they will slight the judiciary. When it favors them, they will say, "Oh, democracy at work." So we shouldn't listen to this politician, because when it favors them, they cry to higher. Once you appeal to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court give judgment, then it's between you and your God. You go, because that is the highest court in the land. So to impugn on the integrity of the Supreme Court is just some of the ways and biases of even Wike, this governor of Rivers State. Yeah, he went to the Supreme Court at a time to get where he is today, because he claimed to be unfairly treated. So if Nigerians feel slighted by the system, they shouldn't take arms, they shouldn't incite violence, they should go to court. So I think Atiku Abubakar has taken the honorable way, has taken the legal way to go to court. He has the right. He's a Nigerian citizen.
One may actually wonder, in the past 4 years and even beyond, how independent has that particular arm of government been in this country. We may not need to go to details, but let's go back to Professor Mahmood. Just on Thursday, he said INEC won't tolerate holding officials hostage. And maybe I should just go ahead and quote some of the things. Open up quotes where the INEC boss said the commission is concerned that many of our materials, including ballot boxes, voting cubicles, voters registers, and smart cards, were lost to the act of hooliganism and thuggery in the elections held 2 weeks ago. He went further to say most worrisome is the attack on electoral officials. But all of that, when the INEC boss comes out to say that the presidential elections was marred by the snatching of materials, including ballot boxes, voting cubicles, registers, and all of that, is that something, is that a positive for the main opposition party?
Well, INEC is, I'm not very appreciative of INEC's level of performance, and I'm not hidden that fact. We are blowing hot 48 hours to the election. What has happened to the people that perpetrated these acts for almost 14 days ago? By now, they should have been prosecuted. The guys that bought the ballot box in Okota, where are they? This is destruction of INEC materials. It was a disruption of the process. Where are they? Were they faceless? It was even told that one of them was in the hospital, yet no police went to arrest him. Then, all the violence that were perpetrated, the one that Imo State example we gave last time, you still went ahead and announced the result. People were there. Party people were there. We saw them on the video with the man. And then you have not even initiated any arrest of those actors who held that man hostage there. And then you can't be blowing hot 36 hours to election. Who will take you seriously? If those people were not prosecuted or even arrested by now, they will do the same thing tomorrow. And so INEC should spare us this double speak. They should take action. If you disrupt the election, if you do whatever that impugns on the integrity of the election, you should be arrested immediately. So I don't know what is happening. Is INEC afraid? We have the powers.
I think that's the question for the commission to answer. If you ask, is INEC afraid? Well, let's say they are independent.
Or does INEC really have the support of security agencies? That's under question. He raised earlier when I asked the question about the security of INEC offices in and outside, and he talked about synergy, and asked again, does INEC really have the synergy with security agencies? Like in Rivers State, the army paraded some suspected INEC ad hoc staff who allegedly made away with ballot boxes and other electoral materials. And upon interview, when some core members were among these ad hoc staff who were arrested, they said they were abducted in a particular local government in Rivers State and taken to a particular hotel room where they were given instructions. And the question is, how secured are these ad hoc staff when discharging their duties on election day?
Well, from what happened 2 weeks ago, it goes to show that there's much to be desired when it comes to the safety of the ad hoc staff. In fact, I went to the field and talked to a lot of corporates who have said they'll stay away because of what happened in Rivers and some volatile states. Although we have some peaceful areas, yeah. But when you don't, when people don't have the repercussions of their negative actions, it will embolden more people to take such action, even in peaceful places. And we know that the presidential election is not as hot as the state election. Yeah. The state election, you know, the political parties and actors and gladiators are all united for one particular candidate of their choice, of their party. But when it now comes to state level, there are intra-party intrigues. The fraction and the factions inside the parties start rearing their ugly heads. We see splash points like Ogun State. All of them were united in voting, in the party, this and that. But when it now comes to intra-party activity, we see a lot of anti-party activity. Yeah. And so many other states too. So it boils down, and then neighborhood to neighborhoods, actions will be happening because of the House of Assembly elections. Because this happens neighborhood to neighborhood. Last election, which held in 2015, the House of Assembly election, there were pockets of violence in Lagos. For example, in Ojota, there was a curfew was declared from the day of the election to like 3 days later because of the actions that people were killed. So we should forestall those kind of flashpoints, where we should have, by now have what we call, have a map of the conflict areas. A conflict mapping would have been done to say, okay, in this area, the tension is high. Oh, a particular political party holds sway in this area. When you know that the homogeneity of political affiliation in a particular area is one, then you leave that, you know that there will be less tension. But when you know that in an area, for example, has a lot of opposing parties of almost equal strength, then you start looking at those areas and say, oh, look, these are flashpoints. And that is how you start determining conflict areas and map them out. And then move your men to secure those kind of places. Don't go to a place like Ikoyi that is reserved and quiet, and you have a truckload of policemen. Then you go to flashpoints like Alimosho and all those places, and Mushi and all those places, and then you have scanty. No, those are not the way to do conflict mapping. So we should look into this and see how we can do it. For INEC, sometimes I worry for their staff, even their ad hoc staff, because what happened 2 weeks ago should not be allowed to happen. People who are doing legitimate duty on behalf of the government and on behalf of the people of Nigeria should not be in any way endangered. We saw the story of, we saw the picture, a very heart-rending picture of a male youth couple who carried a female core member, who passed out. And then the funny thing was the security men were standing by. We saw security policemen standing by. What kind of message does it send? So we should be up and doing, and people who fall short of their duty, be it the military, be it the police, be it the ad hoc staff, be it anybody, should be made to face the music. And that is what we are advocating for.
All right, thank you. And joining us right now is the Resident Electoral Commissioner of INEC in Akwa Ibom State, Barrister Mike Igini. Good afternoon, Barrister, and welcome to Election Watch.
Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon.
All right, we got a report that hoodlums set ablaze INEC office in Ibesipo, Asutan local government area of Akwa Ibom State. Can you give us details of what happened and how the commission is responding to this particular emergency?
Well, thank you. At the wee hour this morning, about 3 o'clock, I got a distress call that the area office, the people at Sultan, was on fire. And so we responded immediately by calling the fire service, one of which is associated in my own office, as well as the security agencies. And so they mobilized, they moved in, and were able to put off the light that substantial part of the building have been damaged. Now, the good news, in the midst of this unfortunate development, is the fact that tomorrow elections will go on in that local government.
All right.
The people of Sudan is one of the 31 local governments of Akwa Ibom State. The ballot papers that were delivered to this area are very much intact. They were evacuated, were carried away from the other building adjacent to the corporate and you can speak intact. So the store where we had the carrier, that's where we really have the damage, because the carriers were destroyed, register of voter bonds, 15 generator sets, also bonds, and ballot boxes. Now, because our program has already had what we call emergency response to likely 17 polling units. The entire complement of the car reader that we use have been recovered also from our reserve. You know, what we are contending with now is just the voting point. And I'm sure before the end of the day, we'll get all of that. And they are also being configured at the moment. So all things being equal, surely tomorrow we are going to be active. The second piece of sensitive material that not been delivered to the local government before. All of them were meant to be delivered today and have been delivered now. So we want to thank all Nigerians who have expressed concern over the matter. But clearly, the fire did not take place in the head office of INEC, which is a concern out there by people who are worried about our safety, and my safety in particular. I am very safe, and the office where the security personnel we have met, and what is also being done in addition to what has been done since yesterday across the state where we already have material delivered, is that we are having additional security presence in the various edges because all the materials are already there at the moment. So far so good. It's work in progress. The place is calm. That's why I call it calm. That's why some of the things we also read also like the movement of thought. And that's the job of security. Because there are boundaries of responsibility and accountability in the election management. The job of security for security.
Well, Mike, Mr. Guinea, if you can hear me, if you can hear me, Mr. Guinea, there are allegations about the cause of this particular fire in that location. Was this has this been confirmed that it was politically motivated? Secondly,
no, come again with the question.
Okay, now there are allegations about the cause of the fire. Well, allegations or reports say that this was probably politically motivated. Can you confirm for us the cause of the fire?
No, clearly, it rained yesterday. One clear evidence that we are seeing is that the tall room is very close to the fence at the back of the building. So because it rained yesterday, the footprint of someone who came through the fence is clearly there. So it's clearly an act of sabotage. There's no doubt about that.
Mr. Guinea, the Commission keeps telling Nigerians that there's a synergy, that you, as a Commission, you have this collaborative relationship with security agencies. As at the time of this fire, or the outbreak of the fire, what can you say of the security situation of that particular office?
Yes, just imagine that if you have a premises, you have the front gate. Usually the security will be at the security post at the entrance. Now, back behind the building is very close to the fence. Someone came in from the back and perhaps, quietly showing something that would have a kind of sound that came over, and what we saw was fire. It's likely to happen. In any case, it is to be credit on the divisional police officer and his men who joined hands with other good Samaritans who were being investigated as Sultan that actually put out the fire. In fact, the fire was good before the fire service people came. So that is a reflection of part of our synergy, given that it was even led by the divisional police officer who actually mobilized people to put out that fire. So the synergy is there. In any case, the security services, they are not firemen, they are not fire persons, but they have done a good job in that area. management. That's what we're going to do. And that's what, as a commission, we are doing. Providing every political candidate fair opportunity and fair chance, to participate in that election. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow.
All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Mike Igini, and thank you for the good news where you said election will hold in the local government. But before I let you go, can you tell us what plans the Commission has on ground as to the security and safety of ad hoc staff who will be participating in tomorrow's election in Akwa Ibom State?
Well, all of us involved in the election, we all need to be secure. Even the security personnel themselves. Recall that at the polling unit, security personnel you have, they are not don't wear arms, so they also need to be secure. So the security is busy. We have security meeting this morning with the security agencies, and they're having their best, to ensure that we have a very secure environment for the election. That's what we can say for now.
All right, and thank you, Barrister Mike Igini, the Resident Electoral Commissioner of INEC in Akwa Ibom State.
Well, thanks indeed, but again, I'm reciprocating.
The part that makes me laugh is, I know Mr. Igini is trying to be diplomatic, but the issue is that how do you describe the fact that there was a security personnel
and
somebody
was able to gain access from the fence?
It's not a gate man. It's supposed to be holistically trained. So that is the difference between a gate man and a security personnel.
Who is expected to go around the perimeter of the
perimeter
compound?
security.
Yes.
Is that what you are saying, that in INEC offices, 48 hours to election, there's no perimeter security? Where are the CCTV cameras? Where are the other security gadgets that would ensure? Where are even the electric wires? They're supposed to be in the local. There are just 774 local governments in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So I assume, or it ought to have been done, that every headquarters, INEC head office of each local government should have adequate security, not manned security by just putting men in front of the gates. Which thief will come? Even the Holy Book says that the thief comes through the window. So no thief comes through the gates when you know that the security man seated at the gate. So by now, we should know that there should be like electric shock wiring system around it. There should be CCTV cameras. There should be alarm trigger gadgets that once you place your hand on the wall or touch the security district, it sends out alarm. There should be all kinds of security gadgets around, especially when it is, let's say, a month to election or 2 weeks to election, deployed to, protect sensitive materials. With that, the man at the gate or wherever the few security people are available will be able to not just do monitoring and then do more of listening. Then the community from people around will also be listening. When something like this happens, you activate your action. But when you say you have security men seated in front of the gate and somebody scaled through the back, it looks so elementary. It looks so elementary. And it's sad that that is how we protect our INEC materials.
It's also very pathetic. Now, I've said this before, that truth and integrity is very, very far from our political terrain in Nigeria. But when you see institutions which should be independent come out and say some things to Nigerians different from what we have realistically, one may wonder, should Nigerians continue to trust the police? Should Nigerians continue to trust INEC when they come out to say some things to Nigerians?
Well, this kind of statement is maybe clever by half. Because the question was, how come you have security or you have enough synergy with the security forces and somebody could, gain access to INEC office, and they say somebody scaled the fence? So that means there is no enough collaboration. It's just hearsays, press conferences, press briefings, and all talk. We are not walking the talk. If a headquarters of a local government of INEC cannot be adequately protected, is it the polling units that they will protect? Where will they protect? Where we already have sensitive material deployed? Where we have, imagine 13 generators burnt, the other materials that were there, but ballot boxes burnt and the rest. So who pays for the cost of that kind of negligence? Because for me, security negligence. Who pays for it? The taxpayers' money. So we're configuring, we are recalibrating, we are bringing more machines, card readers we are bringing more ballot boxes, wastage. So who pays for that? So that is the culture of cycle of wastage we have in Nigeria. And that is why we say we'll move forward and then we don't come, we'll take 2 steps backward.
Many thanks, Mr. Bouquet. I think we can confirm that we have the INEC rec in Oyo State.
Standing by.
Barrister Mutiu Agboke. Many thanks indeed for speaking with us, Barrister Agboke. Let's get to hear your thoughts and, of course, your sincere thoughts about the level of preparation of INEC in your state. You can hear me loud and clear. Would like to just get to hear your sincere thoughts as regards to the level of preparation of INEC in your state, barely few hours to the governorship and State House of Assembly elections.
All right, I guess we're having a bit of challenges there.
Yeah, maybe with the signal, we'll see if we can.
For your state, we have been engaging. Our stakeholders, and we have ensured that people know what we do, and what we do is also seen by them, and they believe in us. Now, as I speak to you now, very early this morning, we have gone round. You know, the last election afforded us the opportunity to evaluate the areas of, drawbacks and the areas of improvement that we need to sustain. And because of that, we have just come back from the local government to see things for ourselves. Our materials have been shared, word by word. They have, retrained our ad hoc staff by giving them refresher training on the issue of smart card reader. So, in Oyo State tomorrow, poll will open 8 a.m. and that will be our expectation tomorrow.
Barrister Agboke, I know we had a chat some months back, but let's also get to hear your thoughts on the people of Oyo State as regards their participation in the electoral process. Do you think that, especially with some of the major paradigm shift, changes, especially as regards the National Assembly elections, some of the results in that state, do you think that the people of Oyo are ready to come out and vote tomorrow?
What we saw, what I saw on ground in Oyo State at the last election beat my expectation. And what do I mean? One would have expected that the postponement occasion or announced by the commission would have discouraged so many people from coming out. One would have thought that so many people would have allowed apathy to set in and they wouldn't even see the need for them to come out and vote. My brother, otherwise was the story here in Oyo State. People came out. Let me tell you their slogan here. They will tell me, Rek, postpone this election 100 times. We are ready for you. So the postponement had no bearing or nothing effect on the enthusiasm of Oyo voters. in casting their votes. And the same thing this time around. The only issue we had were the pocket of challenges, like I told you, late arrival of materials, non-functioning of spark hider in some areas, and we have looked into that because all these are not, peculiar to Oyo State. Some of the local government that were identified, we have, ensured that we amended some of those laxities. And I want to assure you that they are more ready than ever before to come tomorrow for governorship election.
All right, before I let you go, Barrister Muti Agboke, you did make mention of the late arrival of materials in some parts of the state, which you said is not unexpected based on the peculiarity of terrain in Nigeria. However, you said also polling units will open as early as 8 a.m. tomorrow. What have you done based on your findings from what happened during the National Assembly and presidential elections on the 23rd of February to ensure the early arrival of materials in this polling unit vis-a-vis the level of enthusiasm of voters in Oyo State, so as to meet that?
Very good. Thank you. Now, what we have done, materials are supposed to be shared according to the words. We do not expect any electoral officer to start the sharing of these materials on the day of election. That's number one. Number two, there are some allowances that our ad hoc staff are to be paid. You don't wait until the morning of that election again to pay them. Thirdly, in terms of mobility of our men and materials, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, you don't also wait again for them to bring their vehicles on the morning of the election. If you do all this, definitely poll will not even open 8 a.m. Maybe you'll be waiting for 2 p.m. before you start opening your poll. So all this, we have addressed them. As I speak to you now, that local government where we had that issue, that has been resolved. Allowances have been paid. The materials have been shared. All they need to do is tomorrow is to wake up, put on the address, pack the materials, and go straight to the various polling units. Don't forget, INEC is saying our officers must get to the polling unit by 7 a.m. so that the necessary preliminaries, inspections, and and other things can be done by party agent. So for us, those areas we have looked into them. That's why I told you that I needed to go around early this morning to ensure compliance, which of course we saw, and we are satisfied with that.
President Electoral Commissioner of INEC in Oyo State, Barrister Muti Agboke, who is assuring residents, especially of Oyo State, of the early arrival of ad hoc officers to their polling units tomorrow for the governorship and State House of Assembly elections. All right, what do you have to say about this issue of late arrival of materials in polling units? I was on the field in Lagos, and that was a reoccurring challenge in most of the polling units I visited. Many people waited on end, and some who could not really, continue with the sacrifice of waiting had to go back home. How do you think INEC can begin to tackle head-on this issue of late arrival of materials to polling units?
Well, I think that this thing has been reoccurring for the past 20 years. I mean, this is 20 years of electioneering uninterrupted from 1999, and this is the 6th election we have been having, and we still have the same challenges. Companies like Facebook were not available 20 years ago, but look at what they have done to. People keep improving, people keep innovating and improving. But here we are stagnated. In fact, we are not even stagnated. It's a nice way to say it. We are retrogressive. Because stagnation means you've got to a point you're not moving forward. This one, we are even moving backwards. How comes that courier companies could move logistics and courier companies could move things from point A to B within Nigeria, yet, and deliver it promptly? sometimes even ahead. And we cannot distribute our election materials seamlessly. Something is wrong. Nigeria is a huge country, and sometimes there are remote areas and the rest. So going forward, after tomorrow's election, can we start exploring the option of e-voting? Some people say it's prone to manipulation and the rest, but here we are. The entire fabrics of our financial institutions are run on IT. We are talking about billions of money here, naira here. We put our monies in the bank. We have automated teller machine cards. We have e-commerce. We buy things online. We have e-transactions. So if those people have not hacked into our money and then stolen all of them, why are we not deploying some technology to voting? So we won't say because somebody will not say because there are accidents on the way on the road, you won't travel with a car. Even those who have phobia for flight, they still travel. So we should move beyond this mundane argument that we are not right. If we are right, if Nigerian society is right to use all other IT technologies, why are we not right to deploy the same IT technology to voting? In that way, when you do that, you find out that most of the urban areas will come down. Then, for the remote areas that don't have these IT facilities or signals to enable, that are not IT enabled, you cannot know that is where you deploy the ad hoc staff, and then so you have INEC work becomes lighter. In that way, even those in the diaspora can vote. I'm so ashamed that Senegal just had an election 2 weeks ago, and Senegalese in the diaspora voted. Ghana doing e-voting. And it's because of it that we shut down all the borders, we shut down everything, our economy comes to comatose, and then people die. Medical emergencies cannot take place because, so do you know how many number of people that died in the last election that were not able to have medical emergencies attendance? Do we know? Those things don't come out. We don't have the facts, but they happen. Tomorrow again, we are going to shut down. So if it's e-voting, I mean, we have people even in the United States, Ghana here, Senegal, Rwanda, they go to work. As you are work, then during your break time, you go vote. You vote through your laptop, you vote through your tablets. That's the way forward.
We can actually even confirm that the land borders have already been shut down as at 12 noon today, as announced by the Interior Minister, Abdurrahman Dambazal. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Election Watch. We'll be back after this break. Join us again. Welcome back. This is Election Watch on Galaxy TV. We're live here as we continue with our special live coverage of the 2019 elections. Let's take you over to the UK, where we have a leadership consultant, Dr. Issem Okoribi. Many thanks indeed for speaking with us, Dr. Okoribi. Let's get to hear your thoughts. First of all, what did you make of the 2019 presidential elections?
Thank you very much, Kelly, for
Okay, just before we let you go, because we're running out of time, really, what key leadership questions should Nigerians ask as they go to the polls barely few hours to the governorship, State House of Assembly, as well as the FCT area council elections?
Well, we've been, a democratic nation now for about 20 years, since 1999. What key question Nigerians should ask is this where we ought to be at a point in time? Many nations that, are considered younger or lesser than Nigeria are doing far well, but Nigeria seems to be lagging behind. So one question we should ask ourselves as Nigerians is this where the country should be at this point in time?
Well, Dr. Isedo Korebi, we'd like to thank you most kindly for your time and thoughts. Again, we'd like to speak with you hopefully tomorrow on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we just have to round off now, but Barrister Ambrose, or Mr. Ambrose Agboke, I do not know why I keep calling you Barrister.
Well, the Agboke and Agboke
Just before we go, in maybe 30 seconds, what are your last words to Nigerians?
Well, for me, Nigerians, please, whatever it takes, go out there, vote, make your votes count, do not be intimidated. When you see any kind of security infraction or notice anything, bring the attention of the authorities to it during, before, or even after the election. And then for the party agents, ensure that you are there and that the results are declared and that you have the certified true copy. And then for the INEC officials, please ensure that elections, the collation of figures are not more than registered people that in the voters' polling booths. And for security agencies, please be non-partisan, concentrate. Your job is to make Nigeria greater.
All right, thank you for joining us on Election Watch, and thank you our esteemed viewers at home for joining us on Election Watch Nigeria Decides. I'll be right back soon on Election Watch. My name is Judith, Irenoa, and I have been on the show with
Kenny Egiga. Join us again 7 a.m. tomorrow as we continue with our special live coverage. Bye for now.